Hello, Over-Obsessive Marvel fan here, back again after quite some time to reboot my channel. Basically, I'm going to start off by doing a long-awaited review of the Avengers ENDGAME trailer, which came out back in December 7th. You're probably wondering why I chose to do this. It was because it was something I planned to do a few months ago, but never really got round to doing. But yeah, the trailer was pretty good. Didn't really show off a lot of action, but I think that was kind of the point. The directors confirmed, and so did Kevin Feige, that they were only going to really release up to 34 minutes at max footage from the beginning of the film onwards, because they didn't want to spoil too much getting into it. So about the first 15, 20, 30, 35, probably 40 minutes maximum of the actual film will be revealed in trailers through marketing. And for those of you who are wondering about when the next trailer is coming out, it'll probably most likely be a TV spot with the Super Bowl on February 3rd, and then they'll release probably official trailer from that TV spot either later on in February month or March, and hopefully that will be the last trailer we get of it, because obviously they don't want to spoil too much of the film, and we don't want to be spoiled as fans ourselves. But yeah, into the trailer anyway. Pretty spectacular. You learn quite a lot quite quickly. So basically, obviously Tony Stark was riding the Benatar back to Earth. That was kind of predictable. I predicted that without really saying it to anyone, other than a few mates of mine who are fans of Marvel. I think a few of my other Marvel friend fans and podcasters had a theory that this could be the case, because we didn't really see what actually happened to the Guardians' latest ship during the fight on Titan with Thanos, whether it got destroyed or not when he throwed the moon at Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Drax and Mantis, and obviously Nebula when she turned up. But yeah, so it looks like Stark's on there. Whether Nebula's with him or not, it's not really confirmed in that scene, but pretty much it reminds me of Castaway with Tom Hanks, where he's away and he's probably going to die because of lack of resources, and that could be a way potentially Thanos has a bit of an evolved arc where he may redeem himself eventually when he learns that it doesn't matter, because people are still dying because of lack of resources. So maybe he should have done the other thing of snapping his fingers to gain double or perhaps triple the amount of resources that are already available, perhaps throughout the entire universe, depending, like whatever it was, and perhaps that's how he maybe starts or happened to come across a path of redemption, perhaps. And obviously that's where we find out about the Avengers dealing with this new threat that's been looming, because there is a book that follows Dr. Eric Selvig and Darcy from Thor, and they basically end up finding about a looming threat that's heading to Earth, and it's set after what the people on Earth call the decimation, which is Thanos snapping his fingers. So it leads into this idea of a new threat, and obviously the Russo brothers and Feige have confirmed that Thanos is done. He's done what he wanted to do. There's no need for him to continue on that path of wiping out half the universe or killing people anymore, because he's killed the people he wanted to get rid of. Whether it was on purpose or just by the snap, he's done what he's done. He's out the picture now, unless someone brings him back in. Obviously he's going to be back in Avengers 4 because there's been toy leaks, and it just makes sense for his character to be after what happened, because obviously it's going to be repaired, because, well, everyone's known before the release of Infinity War that we got Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which obviously is still awaiting a director. Unfortunate to James Gunn. You've got Spider-Man Far From Home, which now has 2 trailers out of it, and everyone's wondering how he and Nick Fury, who was also revealed, how they both survived, and whoever else has potentially survived after Endgame. You obviously will have to find that out, but you know what they do at Marvel, and the Russo brothers, they're going to give us probably another major plot twist, just as dark or maybe darker, in Avengers Endgame, which is going to explain all that. So it's going to put our minds to rest, and it's all going to be worth it. It's just a bit annoying that Sony pretty much spoiled the fact that they're going to be back, and that Far From Home will be pretty much taking place 5 minutes after that last very moment before the end credits hit of Avengers Endgame. But yeah, so without babbling on too much, you got Stark on the Benatar. He's pretty much dying. He pretty much hints at rescue, because we already know that Virginia Pepper Potts is going to be Rescue, who is basically a female version of Iron Man from the comics, and she probably might end up coming up to space to save Tony Stark, or Captain Marvel or Thor could do it, or Nebula could do it. I saw a video of a Lego animator called Neo25, I think, earlier on, and basically he played a video where, like in Guardians 2, Nebula did something with her arm and it created like this electrical impulse which basically brought power to the ship, which let it do one of those like hyper jumps like in Star Wars through space. Ended up in like Earth's orbit, and then Pepper Potts gets a signal of where Tony Stark is, and then she puts on one of his armours, which just happens to be purple or whatever at the time because it's one of the armours he made, and then she flies up to space to save him, and that could potentially actually happen in the story. But obviously we don't know, it's wherever the story decides to take us. And something tells me if that is the case and something like that does happen, something tells me she might not survive that event, but somehow Tony Stark will, because otherwise it would have made that worthwhile. I think Nebula will probably die in the film as well, because, well, she dies in the comic books, but it's also because her character's more of like an anti-hero slash honorary member of the Guardian. She's not really an official member, and I feel like characters like her, War Machine, potentially Rocket, are all going to sort of be killed off in the film, because it's going to be like, well, those characters are only like the side sort of characters, so like, you know, what importance do they have? I think definitely War Machine and Nebula will meet their fates in Avengers 4, and obviously all the core members will either die or have their own fates. Like, I think Captain America will probably end up going back in time, because you saw him pretty much look at the like pocket watch, and he had that exact one when he was about to die in the first Avenger. So something tells me, obviously it's time travel, they're probably going to end up in time travel, and Ant-Man comes out the quantum realm and goes to the Avengers base. And Steve and Natasha are there, and they're clearly planning something, because Natasha says, this is going to work, Steve, and Steve turns around and says, I know it is, because I don't know what I'm going to do if it doesn't. And that pretty much goes into the debate of the whole potential. Steve and Tony are obviously going to reunite in the film, and people who think Steve Rogers is arrogant will either get proved right or wrong, and people who believe Tony Stark is the arrogant one, or however you'd like to consider him negatively, will be proven right as well by Tony Stark revealing that obviously some of the stuff he did pretty much crucially made a mistake to the events of basically everything that's happened. So yeah, Tony Stark will probably die, bit expected, but obviously you need some core Avengers to die. I mean, you've got War Machine, who's kind of an Iron Man character. Pepper Potts survives, she'll be like a next Iron Man character. You've got Shuri, who'd probably be the Riri Williams character from the comics. Now, for those who don't know Riri Williams, she became Ironheart, so basically the female sort of successor of Iron Man, called Ironheart, but I think Shuri resembles her a lot more and probably be the MCU's version of her. So that might be interesting. If not, Pepper Potts will basically just, and War Machine's characters will pretty much just fill the void for Tony Stark's Iron Man, as well as characters like Spider-Man, who will probably resemble the more young, red costumed, like and intelligence character. And obviously he's got the association with like Happy Hogan as well and stuff like that, and his aunt, and he's got the first film in Phase 4, if that's what they're going to call it. So yeah. And then Thor. Now, a few things can happen to him. I think Taika Waititi, who directed Thor Ragnarok, wants another Ragnarok sort of film. So I think potentially Thor and Hulk will probably survive, considering they're quite powerful characters. Thor's pretty much been redeemed of being a certain type of character which can be considered boring. So that's great. Something tells me, because he's like the king of Asgard, even though Asgard's mostly died, he'll either die for them or he'll survive, and his character will pretty much go on to do great things, and that'll practically be it. His character will survive. I think Hulk, well, I don't really picture Hulk dying, and I wouldn't have thought he would. And his mind's about to be merged with Bruce Banner's to create Professor Hulk from the comics. So I think there's a lot more in store for their characters as well. So I don't think either of them are going to die. I think the most likelihood is that they both like quit the Avengers, or one of them quits and the other one doesn't, but has more responsibilities outside of the team to always be around. So that being Thor, and then the quitting one would be Hulk. but I don't know, their arc might change and they might decide to stay or something, but who knows. Black Widow, honestly, it's a bit of a controversial one. Something tells me she might die, or she might be revealed to be a Skrull. I think it might be a bit of the sort of Solo thing, the Han Solo thing, where they have her character dies, and then obviously we have the prequel film to keep her character alive in the universe for a moment, or something, because obviously we still need characters to get killed. And I think we've caught up a little bit with the gender equality now, because we've got obviously Scarlet Witch if she gets resurrected. We've got Captain Marvel, the Wasp if she gets resurrected, Pepper Potts if she survives and remains rescue, Sharon Carter, say if she becomes the next Captain America, but that's another story entirely, and all that. So yeah, pretty insane lineup. And Okoye and Shuri if she became the next Iron Man, Ironheart, or whoever. So if she dies, I don't think it'll be a 100% loss as such, because obviously you can always introduce new characters anyway, but I think they'll probably keep her alive, because just gender equality and stuff like that, because there's more male than female, so why get rid of her? And because she's a great character as well, and she's quite powerful as one too, and she's like the sort of one that you'd want to keep alive, because you'd want to see how her journey progresses, because she's not exactly got superpowers, but she is a brilliant character, and she has real like proper human emotions, and you can feel for her, like especially in the trailer when she's upset and she sort of says that she's almost crying, in fact, which kind of sounded almost like a bit of a low for a character, but you know things are intense when she's upset. And she was like, well, Thanos did what he set out to do. He wiped out half of all living creatures in the universe. Well, she doesn't say that like that, but that's pretty much what she is saying. But yeah, Hawkeye, who's now Ronin, he's been redeemed as Ronin, so he probably won't get killed off, I wouldn't have thought. I think it would probably would be quite logical to kill his character off, either in that film or in another film. But it depends. Like, it's a bit complicated for his character, because I think he's the sort of character you'd want them to act. But I think it depends on how his arc goes in 4. I think he would be a likely candidate to get killed, most likely, regardless. But we'll just see what happens there. Ant-Man and Rocket are too comedic, so I wouldn't have thought those characters would have been killed off. But leading up to it, the initiative would probably be interesting. Characters staying dead: Bucky Barnes likely, Sam Wilson potentially, Scarlet Witch I wouldn't have thought, but possibly. She does have a TV show coming out, so that could be like a prequel series. Loki most likely is dead. He's got a series coming out anyway, so that's kind of like what I was saying earlier with the Han Solo thing. Spider-Man, well, obviously he's coming back. Nick Fury as well, Maria Hill, they're all coming back, so obviously quite a lot of recurring characters will be. But again, we'll just have to see what happens. Obviously Thanos will be back. I think his character will most likely get killed off in the film, even whether he redeems himself in an arc or not, but just because we've seen his character long enough. There was a rumour by either the Russo brothers or Kevin Feige that they would keep him around for the future, but honestly, unless they're going to do like an official phase 4, 5 and 6, a bit similar to what they've done already with films and stuff like that, and still keep him as that recurring bad guy, I honestly don't think it's going to work hugely. I think his character being killed off would really like be kind of beneficial for the story arc to work, whether he's still the antagonist or not. But obviously if they did it in a really good arc, like he was sacrificing himself to save the heroes, he had respect for like Stark or whatever, that would be very unexpected. He's dying, it would be why and what and under what circumstance. Perhaps it would be awesome for the real villain of the film to get defeated whilst Thanos is as well, so Thanos protects like Tony Stark's life or someone like that, and then he gets killed whilst killing another foe at the same time. But again, who knows? I guess we'll really have to wait until the film comes out, really. But yeah, anyway, I'm Over Obsessive Marvel Fan. My channel has now going to be officially rebooted. I'm still going to keep the old videos on there, but this is how the channel's going to be from now on. I will elaborate in some future videos about why I've not really been doing many podcasts that much, and like obviously what's really been going on, and all about the other comics content channel and all that sort of malarkey. But I'll get into all of those details pretty much in the next video when I have a little bit more time. But yeah, for those of you who watched this. This was for the university project for a podcast video, and it's really helped me reboot the channel. So I just want to say thank you to those who encouraged me to go with this idea for this project, for my individual video, and I hope to see you guys in the next official video of my channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.